Hope you got your park hopper tickets because we are rope dropping Disney California Adventure. What's going on, everybody? I'm David, and this is our family small shop, Mickey and Mandy. We are Disney adults that create custom bags, screen printed shirts, and handmade home decor inspired by everybody's favorite magical theme parks. And I welcome you back to another episode in our Disneyland series, but more specifically, this week we are talking about my rope drop strategy for Disney California Adventure. This is the rope drop strategy that I used during my last visit to the Disneyland Resort when we went to California Adventure. We're gonna figure out if it worked. So this one wasn't as specific as my Disneyland rope drop strategy video, and if you haven't already, make sure you go check out that video. It's my Disneyland rope drop strategy. This one was just however many rides we could knock out well before lunch. The rides that were on my list, my personal list, didn't necessarily share this with the group, probably should have, but my rope drop goals were to try and knock out Soarin', Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, Spider-Man Web Slingers, Radiator Springs Racers, and the Incredicoaster, ideally before lunch. Toy Story Mania, if we could squeeze it in, but I'm not a miracle worker. And I did get some feedback before my Disneyland trip. I asked for rope drop strategies myself to see what other Disney adults that frequent Disneyland far more often than what they normally do. And they recommended rope dropping Radiator Springs, rope dropping Incredicoaster, rope dropping Avengers Campus. I kind of went off grid a little bit. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's jump right in here, pull on that yellow strap and get going and rope drop California Adventure. And you'll have to bear with me, I do have my notebook here because I did notate some specific times here. I'm not a robot, I'm not AI, I just can't remember those offhand. We knocked out a lot of stuff. So for rope dropping itself, we were parked in the lot by about 7:30. We drove from Huntington Beach, we were in the lot by 7:30. We were on the tram to Disneyland, not but 5 minutes after, only waited in security for about 5 minutes, and we were immediately off to the Disneyland Resort. I was so excited. And this was not a solo day at Disneyland for me. I was there with my wife and I was there with two friends of mine from college. So I was kind of trying to contain the excitement. I don't think I was doing a good job. But yeah, parked by 7:30, on the tram to California Adventure by 7:35. And we were at the front gates by 7:50 a.m. and we immediately went to our first stop at California Adventure. This is kind of where I went off grid and I didn't listen to anybody. And we rope dropped Soarin' Around the World. Now, Soarin' I won't spend too much time on because I have talked about Soarin' in other Epcot videos, and that's sort of the only thing with Soarin' Around the World at California Adventure versus Epcot is that it's more or less the same attraction. So there's not really that much differences, but what made this trip around the world special is that when you rope drop Soarin', they're only operating the one theater and they're only operating that middle section of seats. So we waited probably 15 minutes for Soarin' Around the World. Probably could have been shorter if they had more theaters operating, if they had more seats open, but we got to experience it front and center. That means no curvy Eiffel Tower, Paris wasn't at an angle, there weren't any warped hot air balloons. Everything was exactly as it is supposed to look on that attraction. And more to appease me, so that way I could say that we have at least one ride in our system. It was after Soarin' Around the World that we actually went right next door to stop number 2. We got some breakfast over at Smokehouse Jumpers. There's another one, I won't dig into it too terribly much because I actually did do an official review of Smokehouse Jumpers as well as my other dining experiences at California Adventure in my DCA dining review video. I'll be sure to link that at the end of this video so that way you can go and check that out. But yeah, by 8:30 we were at Smokehouse Jumpers. I got a breakfast burrito with some green salsa and I got a cold brew. Wonderful way to start the day. I would argue magical. And after breakfast, after Soarin' Around the World, we walked through the hub. We walked past the Carthay Circle Theater, past and through Hollywoodland, all the way through Avengers Campus to our next attraction. Technically stop number 3 was Spider-Man Web Slingers. And this was an attraction, we were in line by 8:45, waited 15 minutes, we were on the ride by 9. And guys, I gotta be real with you. I don't really get why more people don't talk about Spider-Man web slingers. But I'll get into that more in a second here. So the whole premise behind Spider-Man web slingers is that Peter Parker is a young scientist recruited by Tony Stark and Avengers Campus to show off new pieces of technology that he and other young minds are working on. So he shows off these spider bots that can sort of build and repair and create anything. But then they start building each other. Yeah, more or less. Yeah, they're just building other spider bots, and then they start to take over the entire web slingers lab that Peter is a part of. He goes to deal with it, and then Spider-Man comes in. Oh my god. And Spider-Man ends up recruiting us to help him get the rest of these spider bots, that way they don't take over the rest of Avengers Campus. It's very Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters and Toy Story Midway Mania coded from that point on, because you are in a vehicle with other people and you're hitting the screen with some of this, trying to get the spider bots, and you are accumulating your own score, but also trying to contribute to the score of the greater ride vehicle. On the screen here, you're going to see roughly what our score was here in just a sec. I have no way of knowing if this is good, bad, dreadful, amazing, spectacular. No Spider-Man puns intended, maybe a little bit. But this was our ride vehicle score. I think for me, the bigger things with Spider-Man Web Slingers is that it is very difficult to know what exactly it is that you are slinging webs at. Because obviously you're not doing it yourself. You're making the motion and then it's going towards the spider bots. So it's not like Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters where you have a laser pointer. And I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what the technology is behind Toy Story Mania, but that's worth looking into. But so it almost feels like it's more sensor related. But even with Toy Story Mania, you're triggering the thing to fire the ring, the ball, the dart, whatever. It feels like with Spider-Man Web Slingers, you have to really be prominent with what you're doing with your arm, which can make it a little difficult and challenging for some, I imagine. My arm did hurt by the end of this particular attraction. But I think ultimately the reason why I don't think this is talked about enough, why I had still a lot of fun with it, my arm paid the price but had an absolute blast. I think the reason for that is because I did do this for the very first time with my wife and with our friends from college. So we all kind of got to experience the nonsense of this attraction together. So I guess it definitely comes down to what your first experience is with this attraction. First impression's the last thing. See, and this is why I have the notebook, because I actually see here that we had a vehicle score of 679,000. Again, no way of knowing if that is good or bad. I know that doesn't get me Galactic Hero on Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. Could potentially get me Best in Vehicle on Toy Story Mania, though. So, sticking with Avengers Campus though, after Spider-Man Web Slingers, we actually went right across the way over to Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. We were in line for that by 9:15, on the ride by 9:30. This was another one that we waited about 15 minutes for. So, story behind Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. The Collector has the Guardians of the Galaxy on display in his fortress as one of the more grand additions to his collection that he could potentially have. He's got just about all of them. Except for Rocket Raccoon, the devious little guy, he decided to bust out, and he is recruiting our help as visitors to the Collector's Fortress to try and bust the rest of the Guardians out. So starting off with the queue of this attraction alone, I think they did a really good job of kind of building up why we are there and what we can kind of get out of being here. So it's not just enough that we're visiting the Collector, because the Collector as a person is only okay. But having the draw of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the fact that they are captured, brilliant draw. And as you make your way through the queue, as a Disney Parks fan and as a Marvel fan, there are Easter eggs galore in this queue. Some of the ones that I noticed, very faint, but there is a Figment silhouette in one of the containers. Right before you get on the gantry lift, there is a Matterhorn Yeti, one of the old Matterhorn Yetis from across the street there. I also noticed some Doctor Strange props, like that weird metal restraining thing that they had Don't tell me it was the bad guy from the first Doctor Strange. His name was... It's not Dormammu. It was a zealot. I'm completely blanking. I'm a bad Marvel fan. I'm a bad Marvel fan. But that device was hanging on the wall. You see it on the screen here. There's also an Ultron bot or two, so there is something for everybody waiting in the queue line for Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. I think one of my favorite ones that I noticed, it was kind of a limited run of this particular Easter egg, but I was there for Pixar Fest, and in all of the queues and attractions all across the Disneyland resort, they had Pizza Planet trucks that were themed to the attraction that they were hidden in. So I was able to find a Pizza Planet truck actually themed to the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror that previously owned this particular attraction space before the Guardians of the Galaxy moved in. So in terms of the ride itself, I personally love the ride overall. I think one of my favorite details of the movement of the vehicle is that little bounce that it does in the ride vehicle to kind of simulate the fact that this gantry lift is hovering. It's not an elevator in a hotel. It's not moving from floor to floor. It's almost got like this sort of like repulsor technology on the bottom that's sort of, there's a little bit of a bounce to it. I just think it's a very cool detail. And the soundtrack, for those of you that are Disney Worlders like myself, they do kind of this thing where they give you a different song each time you go on Guardians of the Galaxy. So in Disney World, they've got like Conga in September and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. The very first song that we got on this particular trip was Burnin' Love. So a little bit of a disclaimer, and I say this because I was a bad Disneyland host and I did not clear it with everybody before we went on the attraction, but this is a drop ride. So if you're not a fan of drop rides, it might behoove you to maybe sit this one out. But I personally, yes, obviously they're shooting you up and down. I'm immersed in the story enough that I don't notice. So if you have a hand to squeeze onto like my wife does, or if you are someone who gets easily distracted by awesome music and visuals, you might not even notice. And after Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, that brings us to stop number 5, where we went over to Terran Treats and we each tried a Cosmic Cream Orb. Sort of a Disney California adventure experience that, from what I was told going into this trip, everybody kind of had to do it once just to say that you tried this super weird treat. Won't go into much more detail than that because, just like with Smokehouse Jumpers, this was part of my Disney California Adventure Dining review video. Again, I will tag that at the end of this video so that you can get my full thoughts on that. And moving right along to stop number 6, we are heading over to Pixar Pier and we did the Incredicoaster. This was one where we were in line by about 10, I believe, and we probably waited 15-20 minutes for this attraction. I think this was the attraction that we may have waited the longest for during our day at California Adventure. And for me, I was kind of interested in how this attraction was going to play out because our very first trip to Disneyland back in 2018, it wasn't quite Incredicoaster yet. It wasn't even really Pixar Pier yet. It was more Paradise Pier. It was still California Screamin', my last visit to Disneyland before this trip. So I was kind of excited to see the Incredibles, for one thing, have an attraction, and I was also interested in how the music was going to link up with all the different movements of the track. So I was very interested in how they were going to integrate the Incredibles into a pre-existing track and backset and everything like that. So I was intrigued, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I think Imagineering nailed it with this. Because it does work, because I love The Incredibles and I love California Screamin'. I thought it was a fantastic coaster. So being able to link them in wherever you can, if you can get the music linked up just right with all the different moves and the loop and the drops and everything like that, you've got yourself a recipe for an awesome coaster. An incredible coaster, arguably enough. It was also just brilliant on Disney's part to be able to link this up with the release of Incredibles 2. I think they crushed it with this. I think my only knock on Incredicoaster, it's the same knock that I would give to California Screamin' if it was still open, is that it's a little long and it is very thrilling. It does have a loop. It's got that big launch at the very beginning, so it can be a little thrilling. It can be a little much if you're not really into thrill rides. So because of that, it does go on for a little bit longer than probably for comfort. If it was maybe just like a fraction shorter, I think it would be a home run of an attraction, because you've got the Incredibles, you've got the music, you've got the thrills. It's just a teensy weensy bit too long. And after Incredicoaster, it kind of brings us into a different sort of pace for California Adventure for the remainder of the morning, because I was going too fast. I needed to simmer down. I made my wife and our friends from college go on probably too many larger intensity attractions first thing in the morning for comfort. I know that I can handle it, but I needed to calm down. So after Incredicoaster, we decided to kind of bring our heart rates down a little bit, and we went ahead over to Paradise Gardens and we did the Little Mermaid attraction. If you're familiar with the attraction in Disney World at the Magic Kingdom, there's not much of a difference there. Nice, easy, dark ride, Omnimover system through the story of the Little Mermaid. You could not ask for a better way to just kind of chill for a little bit. And it was a walk-on attraction. Nobody was at Little Mermaid first thing in the morning. But that kind of brings us to our official stop number 7, and I'm just going to talk about this area as a whole, Cars Land. And the reason I'm considering Cars Land as our stop number 7 is because we really took our time in Cars Land as part of our opportunity to just kind of take a breather, relax for a little bit, and just go with the flow. And that really gave me personally the opportunity to really appreciate the Imagineering that went into Cars Land. As a big fan of the first Cars movie at the very least as a kid, Imagineering nailed it with this land. Every little detail was pulled right out of the movie. It is such amazing work that they did in that land. And as we were kind of wandering our way through Cars Land, we decided that our first stop was going to be over at Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. This was it's a simple but fun attraction. We waited maybe 5 minutes for it. Kind of has the base of like that classic Scrambler carnival ride sort of a system. If you're familiar with Alien Swirling Saucers and Toy Story Land in Disney World, it's essentially that. Because you've got the main vehicle in the front in the form of a tractor, and then it's got a little carriage in the back, and the tractor kind of whips you around all the different turns on the circle. So again, low intensity thrills, still a lot of fun. You've got Mater singing songs in the background, so it's just the right amount of chaos. And after Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, we went over to the Cozy Cone Motel, not to sleep, not to take a nap. This is a place that you go to for snacks, and we went to Cone 3. That was the chili cone queso. I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but again, go check out our Disney California Adventure Dining review video where I really dig into what our thoughts were on the Cozy Cone, but I will always go back for a bread cone, especially if it's full of cheese. Oof. After Cozy Cone though, we went over to Radiator Springs Racers. We were in line for Radiator Springs by 11:10, on the ride by 11:20. And yeah, waiting 10 minutes. If you are familiar with Disney California Adventure, you're probably sitting there wondering, David, how did you get on this attraction in 10 minutes? That's impossible. And yes, if you were doing standby or heck, even Lightning Lane, that would be impossible. But we didn't do that. We did the single rider. And I've bragged about single rider before, but I'll kind of give an abridged version this time around. The way that the single rider line works is it's a separate line from standby, from Lightning Lane, everything like that, where essentially a cast member will plug you in to an odd numbered vehicle. So if there is a family of 5 that gets into a car on Radiator Springs Racers, that still leaves one empty space. What they'll do is they'll grab a single rider and they'll plug them into that 6th spot. And that's it. It's not a guarantee that you're gonna get on the ride faster than everybody else, but I have personally had good experience with using the single rider system and getting on much faster than the standby line. So I would always do single rider when it comes to Radiator Springs Racers. Obviously, unless you have little ones, they do have rules for that. Make sure you ask a cast member so that way everybody is where they ought to be for their first ride on Radiator Springs with little ones. But getting back to Radiator Springs Racers itself, to me, this is the creme de la creme of Cars Land. This is the crown jewel. You could not get a better Cars inspired experience in a Disney park than Radiator Springs Racers. It checks every single box for a Cars fan like myself. I mean, you see your favorite characters, you go through Radiator Springs, you see flows, heck, you even see Frank while you're tractor tipping, and then you get to race around Willie's Butte. You are really going through Lightning McQueen's footsteps in Radiator Springs here, and everything about it is amazing from beginning to end. My exact note on here is 100,000 out of 10 recommend. So, and then to kind of act as a bridge between this video and what my next video is going to be about, after Radiator Springs Racers, we did have other friends from college that they rope dropped Disneyland Park, and they were meeting us at California Adventure after they finished up some of their stuff over at Disneyland. So while we were waiting for them, we went to Bayside Brews and we went ahead and got a very quick drink before meeting up with them. But what we did with that friend group, that's going to be a separate video. So reviewing the original goal, this was our rope drop strategy, and really the goal was to do, frankly, as much as we could before lunch. So getting that final tally here, we were able to do 6 rides by 11:30 a.m. and that also included a few snack stops between breakfast, Terran Treats, Cozy Cone, Bayside Brews. But considering what rides I had listed at the beginning of this video were a priority between Soarin' and Cretacoaster, Spider-Man, Radiator Springs, I'm gonna call this a win. This was 1000% a success, and I do think it was because I started at Soarin' instead of everywhere else. And here's why I think starting at Soarin' instead of anywhere else at California Adventure is the move. Because it's the same thing with Disneyland and immediately going for Rise of the Resistance. I understand why somebody would want to do Spider-Man Web Slingers and Cretacoaster, Radiator Springs, or Guardians of the Galaxy first thing in the morning, because those are popular attractions. That wait time is only going to go up. But here's what you need to keep in mind is that a lot of people are going to be doing the exact same thing, and it's going to be first thing in the morning. So there is a certain kind of science there of they're not really bringing people in and rotating them out of an attraction first thing in the morning. It's the first people that are going on. So that wait time, you're really not going to know what it is. And so for me personally, I like to wait for attractions to settle before making that leap. And I think Soarin' and getting a bite to eat, sightseeing a little bit is the way to go. Because Soarin', although it is still a popular attraction and could still potentially get busy halfway through the day, it's not going to be the busiest first thing in the morning. That's going to be anything in Avengers Campus. That's going to be Radiator Springs Racers because it doesn't have a lightning lane option. You can only get it individual. So some people don't want to spend the money on an individual lightning lane for Radiator Springs. So that's just personally what I would do. Start at Soarin', get some breakfast, take your time. Obviously, everybody's priorities are different. Everybody's pocketbooks are different. If you are able to get an individual lightning lane first thing in the morning for Radiator Springs Racers, then do it. Could not recommend that enough, and I would say the same thing for anybody that's willing to do that for Guardians of the Galaxy or for Incredicoaster or for Spider-Man Web Slingers. I really wasn't in the market for spending a bunch of money on lightning lanes, so that's sort of why I did this. But that is my Disney California Adventure rope drop strategy. Again, not to toot my own horn, but I thought it was a success. Before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind just super quick liking this video and subscribing to our channel, this supports us and also makes it so that you don't miss out on any future videos. We are going to be doing more Disney California Adventure videos. There was a whole other half of the day to my visit to Disney California Adventure that I would love to talk about with all of you. And with us being a small shop, we do like to do these sort of behind the small shop videos where we show off certain products and how my mom and myself and my sister make them, like this handmade custom belt bag. That's just one of them. But we also, you can see behind me, we've got handmade home decor, and me and my sister have an absolute blast designing screen printed shirts that are inspired by the parks, the characters, everybody in between. And on that topic, if you wouldn't mind also checking out our family small shop, again, that's www.mickeyandmandy.com. We've got dozens of handmade custom items perfect for your next visit to the Disneyland Resort. And make sure you follow us over on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. That way you don't miss out on any sales that we're running, new product drops, and these are the sites that we mostly post on when it comes to our weekly ready to ship product drops. So So you don't want to miss out on those if you don't want to wait the custom turnaround time. You can get your bags and shirt from us very, very quickly with these ready to ship drops. But more important than that, everybody, as always, we do thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us and supporting us while we talk about the Disney parks. And we will see you real soon.